Hey guys, so I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit kind of hard to speak about, openly. I guess all the gang stalking stuff's crazy, so this is just par for the course. But it'd be on the subject of like hearing voices, right? And a lot of people in their targeting experience, they will experience the voice to skull technologies where people believe that um, things are being radioed in somehow with some sort of technology, right? So they're hearing conversations or different things um, in their head. So I've had some situations like that I'm not sure. I just like I'm my whole thing is I'm unclear how these things were happening. Like, and I want to tell my experience because one thing that was helpful for me was hearing other people that were obviously in their sound mind talk about these things, right? Because one of the biggest parts of this is feeling like, you're nuts or whatever. So for me, I never, I never felt that way as I was going through it. I never felt like I was going crazy. I always felt like they wanted me to feel that way, right? Or they were gonna make me look crazy, and that happened quite a bit, making me look crazy. Normally, um, because of my reactions, right? So I kind of learned through my process that most reactions are not good, right? You have to really be careful with what you choose, how you choose to respond, right? Reaction is very like knee jerk, that's why they call it a knee jerk reaction. You're just like, you're not really thinking about things. So you really have to like tone it back and not be so reactive and sit and think about a response to a lot of things in this whole experience. So, anyways, all that to say, I don't have a ton of experience with the voice to skull phenomenon or experience that a lot of people have. Maybe I'll do a part two where I talk about an experience I did have that was really strange. But again, I don't quite know what that was. So I can talk about that, but I want to talk about in general how I experienced weird thing on the subject of like hearing voices. It was always at a time where there was or could be someone close. Meaning like I would never hear anything if I was not around people, and it always sounded like it was coming from someone near me. Meaning like it didn't sound like it was just in my head. It sounded from like a location near me, and normally there was people around, or it was at a time where I couldn't see if someone was around, but it sounded as if it was right outside or right around the corner, like in a localized area. Not like I was just hearing voices in my head. Right? So I don't know, that can be different. And I'm still not even sure. I mean, maybe, well, I'll talk about that next. I'll just talk about some things that happened, some specific situations that I can remember. And some of them are actually kind of funny. I'll start with the funny ones because I think it'll lighten it up. Okay, so, God, man, like I have a pretty good sense of humor, so I can laugh about some of this stuff. But I know that some of you guys who are going through these things, it's not really a funny subject. But I get through everything with a little bit of humor. So, anyways, this was when I was on the street, experiencing a bunch of different, gang stalking experiences and just supernatural experiences in general. Everything was crazy. And, man, So there was one time where I was homeless, but I had like gotten a scarf from someone and like a nice jacket, and like I was like bum. I was like I was bumming, but like it was like a little, I had a little bit of flair to it, right? Like a little bit of style. And I remember I was walking, I was walking downtown, and it's like I would hear stuff from people, but it was almost like over the top, you know, the whole gang stalking experience where people say things to try to get under your skin, or it was like that whole thing, right? And you're only gonna know if you've experienced it, but like the point being, I don't. It seemed too obvious. Like, gosh, man, I'm not explaining this very well. But anyways, I don't want to. I don't want to reset this video. I'm already 6 minutes in. So I'm walking. I got this scarf on and stuff, and I hear a comment behind me, and someone says, "Look at this classy bum." Right? And it was just like one of those comments. It was like kind of funny, but you know, kind of kind of sucked at the time. But I don't. They wouldn't know that I was homeless, anyways, right? I would have like homeless people asking me if I could like give them money, right? I'm like, dude, I'm homeless too. So, anyways, it felt like it was one of those things meant to like get to me, but I mean, I was kind of like, dang, that was a good one. You know, I didn't respond to it. I just like kept walking. But it was the same day. I'm pretty sure it was the same day that this other comment. It was like I was just getting like people throwing zingers at me. This other one was pretty funny. I was with this girl, and she like had me hold on to her like it was like a lunch sack, right? That had like some stuff from the store. There's like a burrito in there and like a soda, right? And or no, no, it was chicken and a soda. And I got split up with this lady, so I'm walking around um with this thing that looks kind of like you know, like I had made a lunch and I was going somewhere with it. And the same type of situation, like it was just like a really sideways comment from someone that was just like, it didn't seem like this would happen in normal circumstances. But another person was like, look at this, like I heard it behind me. And someone was like, look at this bum acting like he's going to work. It was actually pretty funny, right? Because I wasn't working, I was just stealing and like living really foul. And so it was just like, these are things that, you know, it sounded as if it came from someone. You know, I don't know if this was all like spiritual, right? Because those were just two instances, and those obviously could be nothing, you know, or just come from normal people. But it just, I'm talking about a very like central topic on all this weird stuff that was happening. So someone that hasn't experienced it is like, yeah, you just, you know, two people said something to you. But another couple things that had happened that were a little more, I mean, those were just the funny ones, right? So that's why I brought those up. And I use those as an example of like, I would always hear something as if it was coming from someone. So I got three more that I remembered that were super weird. I was walking downtown, and like I didn't know anyone out here either, too, guys. Like no one should have known who I was. No one should have known anything about me. I didn't have any friends out there. I didn't know anyone. I was just like, excuse me, living on the street, doing drugs. Had kind of like given up on life at this time. and like God was like really like humbling me and like breaking me down, getting me to a point where I would surrender. But I'm walking downtown and I see these two like pretty good looking girls, and I have to walk by them, and I hear their conversation, and they're like gossiping about me. But it wasn't just like in a you know, like it wasn't normal because they knew things about me, and this is how it went. Something along the lines of, man, they're talking to talking to each other, and they're like, it's like they're just gossiping together, right? And one of them's like, man, does he know how spun out he is now? And then the other one's like, yeah, I know, right? Like he's out here, he's homeless now. Can you believe that? She's like, yeah, seriously, look at him. He's losing it, stuff like that, right? And then this was like, first of all, that'd be a weird way to phrase everything for a stranger, even if you're talking about some homeless person. They were talking about me as if they watched my decline, you know. And then this is where it got weird, because one of them was like, she's like, yeah, I know, right? And guess what? He hasn't even talked to his family since he's been out here. And then it starts getting like even darker, right? So, which was true. That was a true statement. Like, they shouldn't know that. I don't know them. Why would they be concerned about me, you know? And why would they be talking about me? Why would they know things about me? It's all just weird stuff. So she's like, one of them's like, yeah, he hasn't even talked to his family. And then the other one's like, yeah, he doesn't love his family. And his family doesn't even love him, right? So then they're like, so it went from like, started out with some truth, and then they're like going into like speaking death, and basically putting it on me. And it was like, I was so confused when I'm walking by watching them talk and say this, and I'm just like, what is going on? How do they know this about me? Why would they be set up in a place where I'm like, this wasn't where I was staying. This was like, I was just passing through, and they were like concerned with me, you know? Just very weird. And this is kind of when I wasn't used to these experiences, so I was just so confused, and I didn't even really react. I didn't say anything, and I wish that I could have some of these times back where I could really find out and ask them stuff and interact with them. But it was like, I was so confused. It was almost like I didn't understand or know what to do, so I didn't really do anything. I just walked by confused and like kind of weirded out, like how all this was going. So that was another instance. Another weird one was, I had acquired a firearm. So I had this gun, and I was rolling around with it for a little bit, right? I didn't have like a holster that I was using. I was just like basically packing it around like in my waistband and stuff. And there was one time where I was like, it was getting uncomfortable, so I went into a little cutout in the building. And basically it was like on the side of a building, you know, you enter into the doorway and it immediately takes a left, eventually leading to a door. But it was like a little mini hallway that was not visible. No part of this was visible from the street. So I went in there to adjust the gun, and I ended up dropping the gun while I was around the corner. And immediately when I dropped it, I heard from out on the sidewalk, someone said, oh man, he's gonna end up shooting himself. And it's like, I'm not thinking about that. I'm like, it just came from over there, you know what I'm saying? And no one could see back in there. So again, like in the last situation where the girls were talking and this, like, I don't know if this was all spiritual and it was like they made it seem like it was coming from these people, you know, or coming from a location. But that happened. That was another weird one. I remember one time also, I took a bicycle that was like sitting somewhere for a couple of days. I mean, technically, I guess it was kind of stealing, but it wasn't like in someone's yard or anything. It was like stashed somewhere, kind of by this homeless block. And so I took this bike and I ride down the street onto kind of the main spot, and this car drives by me, and I hear coming from the car, "Hey, that's my bike!" Like super aggressive, right? So now I'm like looking over my shoulder and stuff, but it was stuff like that. Like the chances of someone immediately seeing me while they're driving by and saying that and not turning around and not, you know what I mean? It was just like one of those things that put a little fear, put me on edge. And it's like constantly, I'd be put in these situations where I do something sketchy, and then all this backdoor of fear and threats would come from this action. So it was almost like they had a reason to be messing with me, right? And the thing that was kind of keeping me involved with that was like the whole piece of it was I wouldn't be doing that stuff if I wasn't on drugs. So the drug was like the catalyst for all this stuff. But I haven't really made a video. That's my wife. Sorry, guys. I'm making a video. Gosh. Anyways. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and my wife were all just staring at me because I'm looking outside this window. Anyways, I was trying to hustle that up before that happened. I didn't quite get there. Man, that's happened in my last 2 videos. Guys, it's harder for me to make videos now. I'm married now, and I got a lot going on, so that's why I don't make as many videos. But I wanted to make one that I'm talking about some of my situations, because I got a lot of new people that follow me, and so yeah, I don't understand, like I said, this stuff could have been spirits messing with me that are making me hear these things, which, I mean, I'm open to that idea. Maybe it was people actually speaking, people, I don't know. But that was kind of my experience with the weird stuff I've heard. And it's like, there's a lot more that happened than that, but that's just some of my experiences. Anyways, I think I'm rambling a little bit. I'll see you guys later. Let me know what you think.